Well, it finally happened. Bolt increased their prices. Today, we'll discuss if it's a good thing or not and what it means for ride shares here in Pattaya, Thailand. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Pete on Retreat. If you're new to the channel, my name's Pete. Last year I sold almost everything I own, including my house and car, so I could go live abroad and travel the world for 10 years. The first phase of my adventure is traveling all around Asia, and Pattaya, Thailand is my home base for this first year. So first, let's start off with Bolt for people that may not know. Bolt is a rideshare company similar to Uber and Lyft and Grab or Loca in Laos. They operate in many countries and different cities, but from my understanding so far in Thailand, they've been doing things a little bit differently. Here in the Kingdom of Thailand, they aren't taking any commission from any rides right now. They set up a bit of a different business model here. They appear to be operating at a bit of a loss. Currently, they aren't taking any compensation from any of the rides you get here in Thailand. The drivers keep everything that you pay for every fare you take. It's a very aggressive tactic that they've taken, and the result is the Bolt company has been able to capture a huge share of the rideshare market here in Thailand. I know Bolt operates in different areas of Thailand, but I don't think they're everywhere in the kingdom yet. They do, however, have a huge presence here in Pattaya and Jom Tien and Pratunach. Because they don't take a cut of any of the fares, the rates have been crazy cheap. I currently live in Pratunach, which is this lovely quiet neighborhood just south of Pattaya City. When I moved here, it averaged about $5 US round trip for me to go up into the city and back. To compare it to the US, we're probably talking $40 or $50 if I was to do the same distance and time using Uber. I mean, that's crazy. We're talking like 10 or 15% of the cost. It's so crazy cheap that even without the company taking a cut of the drivers' fares, I couldn't see how the drivers were making any money when you factor in the cost of maintenance on the car and gas alone. There's a couple popular theories on what Bolt's going to do once they command a majority of the market share, which they already do now. Most people think the aggressive policy is just to command a large part of the market share and that most of the customers will stick along as rates increase. Some folks think that down the line the plan is actually to sell off the business, or at least the Thailand part of it. I don't know who's going to buy a business that's losing money, but I mean, stranger things have happened. Like most rideshare companies, if not all rideshare companies, the fare you pay is often based somewhat on supply and demand. If it's a peak time and there's just not a lot of cars there, the rate goes up. There's been plenty of times on holiday weekends, or even just on a normal Friday or Saturday evening between like 8 and 9, where getting a Bolt can be pretty difficult. Now, I do also have to add that the most popular Bolt is the motorbike taxi. I personally have somewhat of an aversion to riding on bikes around Pattaya. I'll take motorbikes here around Pratunach and down into Jom Tien, but I never take them up into the city. Another factor with me personally is living out here on the kind of peninsula bluff area of Pratunach. It can be a little bit of a pain just getting here and out of here. So I think sometimes drivers just don't want to bother with it. They'd rather have a more direct fare. But yeah, I've had times where I just couldn't get a Bolt or had a really hard time getting one. For example, one day when I was going into the city for Songkran, I would say the rate was probably up 40 or 50%. And it took me 45 minutes of near constant trying to actually secure a car up into the city. The worst time I had, however, would be the traditional Western New Year's Eve, December 31st. I tried for close to 2 hours to get a Bolt and still couldn't. I ended up hiring a private bot bus for 300 baht. Now 300 baht is only 9 or 10 US dollars, but when compared to the rideshare fares here normally, that was a huge crazy amount. So even though I know prices go up and down based on demand, I noticed about 3 weeks ago, maybe even closer to 4 weeks ago, a pretty instant price hike. From my calculations and observations, it seems to be about 30%. In the last couple of weeks, I've actually been using more bolts than I had been normally. A couple of my friends are moving or traveling for a few months, and we've been spending extra time together before they go. I've been asking a lot of my drivers, especially the ones that seem to be speaking good English, if there was a rate increase at all. And 2 of them said yes. Yeah, there's been a rate increase. I then asked them if Bolt was taking a cut of their share yet, and they both said no. Hello, good morning. That's Rose. I eat there all the time. So 1, I confirmed that the rates did in fact go up, and 2, I confirmed that Bolt still isn't taking a cut of the fare. Now, we could hypothesize exactly why Bolt raised the fare, but what I would prefer to do is talk about its current impact and whether it was a good thing or not. In my opinion, and based on my experiences this week, it's absolutely a good thing. Like I mentioned before, I just didn't understand how drivers were making any money at all. Compared to Grab, which is really Bolt's only competition for rideshare here in Pattaya area, Bolt is still about 20% cheaper. I don't know what type of percentage Grab takes from its drivers per fare, but I'm confident saying that the compensation is at least better for the Bolt drivers now. I've almost always tipped my Bolt drivers because I just don't understand how they make any money on those low fares. What I've noticed since this fare increase is that I have a much easier time of finding a car Bolt ride now. I have never had to wait more than 3 or 4 minutes for a pickup. I've gone out on Friday nights and it's been absolutely fine. My theory is this price increase has done 2 things to the Bolt market here. It's probably lowered the demand a little bit. Once you're in Thailand long enough, a 40 or 60 baht difference feels like a big thing. Even though with Western logic, comparing it to the US dollar, 40 or 50 baht, we are only talking $1 or $2 US. But I think more than lowering the demand with like maybe people taking bot buses or possibly even walking more, or maybe they're taking motorbikes more. I'll hardly take them myself, so I don't really know. I think it's brought more drivers to the market. When you request a fare, the map shows you briefly all of the cars in your area, and I have never seen these maps as densely populated with Bolt cars as I'm seeing right now. There is a factor that I do have to consider, and it's really hard to measure. That factor is the busy season is over. From what I read, the busy season was going to be ending in like February or early March. But from my impression and from talking to people that have been living here for quite a while, it stayed pretty dang busy. Some of that, of course, has to do with the Ukrainian war and more Russians coming over here, the opening of the Chinese border and Chinese tourists finally being back allowed in, and just the general fact that people are just still starting to travel after COVID. I do feel like just in the last 2 or 3 weeks, and coincidentally coinciding with the Bolt increase, that this town is starting to quiet down a bit finally. So from my personal experience, yes, I think the increase in fares for Bolt is absolutely a good thing. Good morning. It's helping the drivers that I always worried weren't getting compensated enough, and it's definitely increased my ease of getting around town. I plan on doing a video about do you need a car or a motorbike in Thailand, and to be honest, with some of the difficulties I had in securing a rideshare at times, it was starting to push my personal opinion on the subject and in a direction away from the one I've personally had since I've gotten here. But things for me and rideshares are getting a lot better. Luckily, I love walking, so if I can't get a ride, I tend to just walk. So yeah, other than it costing me, I don't know, an extra like $10 or $20 a month this month, I think it's a 100% win-win situation, and I'm stoked to see it. Bolt is still about 20% cheaper than Grab. It's very likely to go up again. I assume it will, and I'm just enjoying the heydays while I have them. But what do you guys think? Tell me in the comments below if you think the price increase was a good thing or not. If you've enjoyed this video or found this content useful at all, please hit that like button, hit subscribe, even hit that bell for notifications. All of those things just help my channel grow, and they help to get these videos out in front of more people. I started vlogging the very first day I arrived here in Thailand, and I've got got a bunch of videos out already, so if you're bored, go check them out. As always, I want to thank you all for watching. This is Pete on Retreat, walking the street on another lovely day here in Pattaya, enjoying this wonderful breeze. And the only thing that can make it better would be have some of y'all here walking with me. I wish you were here.